Welcome, Julian. Thank you for joining me today on our Cosy Chairs. This is one of a series of videos for Everyday People and Everyday Leader videos. And we're looking today at this particular video is just the skill of strategic perspective and leading strategically. And I've had the pleasure of knowing you, being a good friend for 12 years, Julian. You're an inspirational man for me. You may make a funny face, but you are an inspirational man. You can literally take an idea that's in your head, write it out on literally the back of an envelope, and then transform that into reality. So I've got utmost respect for the way you can design that. So can you just tell us a little bit more about your trade and kind of how you came to be involved in this?
Right, well, so it goes back actually to my dad, who was a builder. So I brought up with the building bits and pieces around the house and in the garden and spread everywhere.
Yeah.
Like builders do. And but I chose the carpentry trade because it was a cleaner trade. I didn't want to be plumbing because it was messing around in toilets and it's not a place to do.
Yeah.
So I chose carpentry. That's what I did as an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And did the apprenticeship, and from there I was doing joinery, which is doing small projects.
Yeah.
And then I went out on site and did larger building projects, and which has set a bit of a pattern which comes later in life. You start small and so it grows.
So you started off in carpentry as a joiner, but you didn't just stay as a joiner, did you?
No.
In terms of your career, what have you ended up doing?
From carpentry, I did. I went in, had a little time doing work at furniture with learning disabilities.
Okay.
Which was managing that project, which was really my first touch of leading a project, and that was very much from conception with learning disabilities, making garden furniture to sell commercially and for people to buy because it was a good product as opposed to feeling sorry for it. For the people who may be making the furniture.
Great. So leading a project, supporting this charity, using your carpentry skills and leading others to provide a good product that people wanted to buy. But again, you didn't just stay at that. So what else have you done?
I got itchy feet there, and I did enjoy leading, so leading people. So we went from there. I got an opportunity to do site management. Great. Which was a big aspiration. And then from when I was apprentice, I always wanted to be contract manager. That was an aim. And I felt I was quite successful as a site manager. Went into contract management and I hated it. Okay,
so it's about finding the niche for you. But you've used those, both leadership skills and your skills around building and carpentry in a range of different contexts. And then personally, you've taken that too, haven't you? Because I know you've got this amazing ability to build houses. And you've not just done that in your day job, but you've done that with your homes as well. So can you tell us a little bit about how many houses have you built for yourself? And what's that involved?
I think, including when we first got married, when we renovated a house from top to bottom, then it was one new build and then two other practically knock it down and start again. But that's pretty much what we've done. But for me, that's been very much a journey of design and trying to use a bit of design flair, which is people paint pictures. I love messing around with houses, really.
And you have literally, as you said, taken your home, knocked it down by one wall, and then rebuilt it in an innovative kind of style from your designing. So in the book that we've written, Everyday People for Everyday Leaders, I tell about how you sketched out a design and literally on the back of an envelope. Is that a natural skill of yours, and why do you think that initial sketch is important when you're thinking about that kind of next step?
Well, so the initial sketches are very much after, I suppose, looking around for ideas and building up a picture in my mind as an artist would who's going to paint a picture. That's very much what I'm doing, drawing out so I can sit on a bit of paper. It might be two-dimensional, but it's that from that I can build a picture up on how I want it to look, and I'll mess around with isometric, trying to make
Yeah.
our thoughts come alive, really.
Yeah. So what you're going through in that principle is you're looking at other things, fairly standard ways that things have been done, and then you're using those ideas, blending them with your own, thinking of different creative ways of doing it, and that initial sketch allows you to
I'm not an artistic person.
Yeah.
But just to draw a few bits on a bit of paper does help it to get perspective and how I want it to look, really.
Yeah. So what that allows you to do is kind of create your end picture. As you say, it might not be a beautiful piece of artistry, but it gives you that idea and allows you to know where you want to head it towards. And then you work on developing some proper plans. So why are those important?
So the plans are very much the blueprint on how it's going together. So if it allows you to do things in the right order, so it's giving a rule book, really.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to do, and it gives you an idea of the stages, because the architect will invariably draw it in the stages that you're going to build it.
Yeah, great. And talking about those stages, now I'm not a builder, but I know from talking to you that there's something called a Gantt chart. And so why is that important for building? What's the purpose of the Gantt chart?
Well, for me, from my site management skills, really, it's vital to have that as your go-to guide on where you should be on September the 21st, where you should be on December the 16th. So a series of bars of showing of each of the bits of project. So be it groundwork, superstructure, the brickwork, or the timber frame.
So that's the line that runs through,
and it could be several breaks, and then the skill is to try and link up with how they interact, because everybody would love to be building on about a 3-year program where you can have one bar for brickwork, one bar for putting the roof up, and electrician on site, then a plumber. But buildings need to get built a lot quicker than that. So we're trying to get the trades to work together in a manner that can be cost effective and program effective.
Yeah.
And then when you're at a meeting and they say how late are you, if you're late on your program on week 6 of a 52-week program, you're immediately able to tell where you are going to be, so you can deliver bad news early.
Yeah, deliver the bad news early if it's going to be late, but also, I guess, then adjust when people are coming in. Yeah, and what you need accelerating if you're going to try and hit it.
Sequence is vital with construction. It is sequence. And the time spent doing that program is where you can save the time, I think.
Yeah. So spending some time creating a Gantt chart that works out where each part of it's going to run, how they work together, but the timings of it as it goes through, that spending of time planning for that and how each component part will work together and the timing, although it might feel like you're wasting time because you could be getting on it, without spending that time and thinking about the steps and the timings and how they all work together, it could end up all very messy unless you spend that time.
I can remember actually when I did my apprenticeship, one of the lecturers we had, I can't remember the exact the facts, but the Japanese doubled the amount of preparation time on their construction projects as opposed to Europeans.
Right.
But the benefit in the construction phase, they do the construction phase a lot quicker because of that investment in time on planning, plotting your program, and then monitoring that program right the way through. Yeah,
so that for them it's investing so much more in the planning means the actual production of it goes so much smoother. Yeah, fantastic. So you obviously work with people as well as a builder, and so how do you ensure everyone knows what needs to happen? Because you've got it in paper, you know what the sketch looks like, and you can then show them the architect's drawing. So this is what it looks like at the end. You've got your Gantt chart, but how do you ensure everyone knows what needs to happen? Is it just a case of look at this in the beginning and off they trot and it all just flows together?
No. I mean, that process is a lot harder these days with health and safety and trying to fill out the bits of paper that's to satisfy quality control. However, the best builds are always the ones that have got the site manager out there identifying where you are. So if you're not out there looking at what you're doing and you're sat in the office, you haven't got a clue where you are. you're relying on other people telling you. So I need to see where we are. You need to speak to people. So you've got to have a line of communication, which in today's building world is a lot of subcontractors who you haven't worked before. So you're building up a relationship with them of trust, really, so that they feel as though if they don't do things how it should go, they're prepared to come and tell you.
Yeah.
They'll certainly be prepared to tell you when it's not ready for them.
Yeah.
But it's creating an atmosphere of openness and being prepared to say what's going well, what's going bad.
Yeah.
And trying to work as a team, trying to get the team working together. So because it can, with subcontractors, it can be, it's, you know, they're there to make money.
Yeah.
And creating that team environment is probably one of the hardest skills, I think.
Yeah. So that's really interesting.
You've got to communicate really well.
Yeah. What you're talking about there is this, you know the plan, you know what it's looking like, but you've talked very much as a leader, making sure you're there alongside the people that are helping you pull this together, and this sense of this constant communication, because, and it's that ability, like the Gantt chart, to be able to check where are we in terms of this, is this working, isn't it working? And you've talked about this sense of creating this safe culture where it's okay to feedback, it's okay to explain what's happening, whether targets are being met or not, so that you get a realistic picture as to how close you are or not close towards that end goal of what you're aiming for. So as much as you're thinking strategically, you're talking very much as well about this getting alongside.
It's very hard in today's world, especially of people. If there's a delay, the contractor's thinking, "Am I going to get stung for damages for late delivery?" And so they're very guarded what they're going to impart upon you. But it is you've really got to grill it down and try and get them to break down those barriers, to be open and frank, because if you can do that, you can probably gain some time where you may have lost. I think. Yeah, it's really good. So Julian, you've been leading teams of people in building works for many years, and one of the things we talk about in the book is the importance of shared values and behaviour. And so I would imagine in the building industry, like many industries, it's absolutely crucial for good reputation and standards for that company, for example, and that, yes, if you buy from this builder, it's got a good standard. Tell us a bit about how you ensure your teams, particularly when you're working with those that are subcontractors, are really clear on this kind of shared value and behaviour. Is that something that's just a one-off thing you mentioned when they first arrive? How do you ensure that the kind of values and behaviours and standards that you're expecting are maintained? Well, so if I'm doing a project, it's the poster on the front might say SEH French Building or Barnes Construction. Yeah. But that's Julian Eddy's job, and it's Julian Eddy's reputation. Yeah. And I've always been told you're only as good as your last job. Absolutely. Yeah. So that plays on your mind. So the first chance you get is when you pick up the phone to make sure your contractor is coming in. Yeah. And the first thing you say is, "Please, can you send your best? Because I only want to accept the best." Yeah. So which tries to set a tone. When they turn up for their inductions on site, your first chance face to face, and I think it's important that the environment where you're doing the induction is very organised. Yeah. And not looking like a pit. Yeah. Because it sets a bad example. Yeah, so I think that's really important to have. So it's not just what you're saying, it's what you're modelling. Yeah, I think very much so. Yeah. And then, especially if you've got a trade that is going to really show up if it's going to not look good. Yeah. Be out there right at the start to identify if you've got bad workmanship going on. Yeah. But it is your own reputation that's on the line. So it's about knowing the standards you expect, and about making sure that you are out there checking. Yeah. And certainly when I've worked with people, it's the minimum of what you set is then what it becomes. So it's about having those high standards, getting out there, checking, making sure those standards are being maintained is absolutely crucial for you. It is, and that's it's making sure everybody's pulling in that direction. Yeah. And it doesn't always work, because it doesn't. It goes wrong at times. Yeah. and then you have a difficult conversation.
Yeah. So thinking about leading strategically, we've talked already about knowing clearly what you want it to look like. That's what your sketch starts off, that's what your blueprint, the architect's drawing makes it clear the picture you want to get to. One of the things as well about leading strategically is kind of knowing who you can partner with to kind of help get there. Now I know, Julian, on the third house that you've built, it's a fantastic, beautiful house, but you actually had an accident towards the tail end. I think you'd finished building the house. Tell us a little bit about the accident. What happened?
We had the house had all been finished. We were in the landscaping stage, and we'd had a contractor put in some steelwork to create some steps to access the back garden because it was on the sloping site. So early on the Saturday morning, I went down to access the garden, put my lead foot down, and they were like hurdles at that stage. They hadn't been finished off with regard to the infilling of the steps. And my trailing foot caught the riser of one of these steps, which meant I fell down onto the bottom step, which was a riser which, unbeknown to me, was a razor edge machete style bit of steel which sliced through me through the top part of my leg. So quite a serious accident. It was after then a trip from 500 yards down the road to Bury Hospital, which was quite handy. But from there, with a tourniquet on my leg, blue lighted down to Addenbrooke's and a week in Addenbrooke's. And I think a few pints of blood later, but it was a traumatic time.
It was, and that then had an impact on you.
We were coming out to see you for dinner.
I think you were coming to see us for dinner. Somewhat rude of you not to turn up. So that not only was traumatic on the night, but obviously then had an impact on what you were able to do. And so you needed to look for partners that you could help you complete the job.
That's right.
So how do you go about finding partners that you can trust, both in that context, but just generally? Because finding partners to help you deliver the strategic project is key. What do you look for?
It's hard because there's not the trades for that particular stage. We were running out of time because I wanted to get it safe. It's people I've worked with before. So build the relationship you have with the people that you've worked before primarily. I mean, the guy who did the carpentry work was superb. But I had worked with him before, so I had a working relationship, so I could trust him to deliver. The groundwork side was a bit more risk because I hadn't worked with him before, but it's getting him. I drew some sketches. He understood what I was wanting to achieve. And he talked the right language. So you have to listen and hear what they're. I think that's a bit of a key, really. You've got to hear what they're saying. Try and tease out of them their methodology. And sort of see if they're talking the right language, really. If they're just going to. So
there's a couple of key tips there for people, isn't it? It's about knowing the contacts that you have that share that similar vision and value to you, and where you're looking to develop new contacts. You talked about clearly showing them the plan, talking about it, and getting a sense back from them whether they could share that same vision and value, both in terms of the project, but also in terms of the standards, the way that you like to work. Because not only like on your building sites or in the context when you work in your day job, but particularly for your home.
It was even worse for home because you're fussy about home.
You want to make sure it's good. You've got to keep looking at it every day, haven't you? So it's just listening, that you say, and getting that feedback from them. Do they share those same values, that same vision that you have, and that same sense of standards that you're after was absolutely crucial. Great. So finally, Julian, just thinking about top tips for thinking strategically. This video is for everyday people thinking about everyday situations. So if someone is thinking about somewhere they want to head with something, what would be your top tips for thinking strategically?
Going back probably to something that I did early in management, which was working with learning disabilities. That was a great insight, because to get people with learning disabilities in the project, we had quite dangerous woodwork machines that they were working, and we broke each stage down specifically for them. The advantage of the guys that we were working with, you you could break it down to that system, and they wouldn't try to speed it up and shortcut.
Yeah.
But it was great because it broke that process down. So for building on site, breaking processes down, understanding how they work together, doing your program, making sure you've got the resources. The resources are key, because without that, you're going to go belly up.
So it's just looking at the end goal, breaking that into component parts, being really clear about what those are, particularly when you're working with people, and ensuring then you've got the resources that come in at the right time to match that is key to delivering.
It's key planning, looking ahead, realising, well, the windows are going to be 12 weeks to manufacture. Have I got those ordered? I need to get painters in at this stage. Pick the phone up 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, make sure they're all lined up.
So it's a case of planning ahead, so being proactive, looking and charting, and then working backwards from the day you need them to make sure you've ordered them in time.
And you're also looking at your own, I mean, your resources again. If you've got to start a job and you've got to set the job out, I would perhaps normally set a job out, but I need to make sure I've got all the materials on site in preparation for it. So I'll get someone in to set it out.
Fantastic.
Free up my time.
And using people that you know you can work with that will bring that skill to it is a key part to help you deliver that. Fantastic. Julian, thank you ever so much for helping us today. Just think about strategy, and it's always a delight meeting and chatting to you just to hear how you work through those projects, and I look forward to hearing about your next project.
Thank you.